Hey everyone, I'm Melanie from Streamlined Legal, where we help law firms get the most out of your practice management software. So, a lot of you may be sitting out there similar to me, where you may be described as an A type personality, and maybe you have some tendencies to love a clean data set. Maybe you love things in a particular order. And so that is something that can be a challenge when it comes to custom fields, right? Because depending on how your custom fields in your Clio account have been used in the past, you may have had people that were just figuring things out and learning what to do and making all kinds of custom fields that you maybe didn't want in the future. Or maybe you had an integration that was connected that created a bunch of custom fields and now you don't even use that integration anymore. And so a lot of times we have this tendency to want to go in and just like clean up our custom fields. And I think there's a really great opportunity there for us to do some organizing and to make sure that we're prioritizing the fields that we want. But I also think that it can be a big waste of time to go in and just delete a bunch of custom fields because you're going to spend a lot more time doing that, in my experience, and figuring out which ones you want to keep and which ones you don't want to keep. And all of that exercise of deleting them, it's going to be so much more energy than you're actually going to get any return on that investment. And so I want to dive into Clio for a minute and just show you what I'm talking about and explain to you why I think this. So I'm going to dive over to our Clio screen. And you can see, like in this account, we have, let's see here, we've got 29 pages in this account of custom fields, okay? And at 25 custom fields per page, that's 725 custom fields. That's a lot of custom fields. I'm never going to use that many in most cases, right? But to go through and figure out which ones I want and to keep and which ones I'm not going to use and all that, and then delete them, it's possible, but it's going to take a lot of time, right? So some of you may recall or know that if I come over to my matters list here, and at the bottom, if I click on export right here, and it gives me this option to export a CSV with all available columns, if I export that, then that's going to give me a list of all of the data that we have in those custom fields for those cases, right? And so I could take the time to filter each column and figure out how much data we have and who's using it and how much it is and all of that. Then go back, find that field in Clio and delete that field. Now keep in mind, it's going to delete all the data in the field as well. But I could go through that whole exercise. But again, depending on how many custom fields you have, that might take quite some time. Now, what I see as best practice is when I come to my settings and I go to my custom fields, I don't usually want to use individual fields. Like that's just too much work. Instead, I would much rather create some field sets, right? And the fields I'm actually going to be using with any regularity, those are going to go into a field set, right? And so I'm going to train my team that when they open new matters, they're going to either use a matter template that has the field sets I want them to use in it, or I'm going to have them trained to come down to custom fields, depending on the situation, and just choose the field sets that I need. So maybe I'm picking some criminal field sets or some litigation field sets or something like that, right? But I'm never going to train my team to go and pick individual custom fields that are available to them, just because that's not a very efficient way to do things, and it's not going to ensure that I'm not missing custom fields. So again, I'm always going to train them to use either a template or a custom field set that's appropriate for the matter. I'm never going to teach them to pull out individual custom fields. So in order to make this most usable, I'm going to create those custom field sets, train them to use those. And then what'll happen is when I come back to my custom fields that are listed here, my team's never going to find those, right? Because they're trained to use the sets. And if it's not in a set, it's never going to pop up for them to use in a matter, right? So it's really not going to be in their way. They probably won't even notice it in that list of custom fields there. Because again, they're trained to go look for the field sets or use the template. And they'll never come across these other custom fields that I would have otherwise deleted, right? So again, there's the time and energy it's going to take for me to clean those all up and delete them and get rid of them. They're just never going to come across them and use them. So I think that coupled with paying attention to your permissions and who has permissions to create new custom fields, is very important, right? Because if we're giving that permission to just about everybody, there's more opportunity for them to go in there and use custom fields that hadn't been well thought out, or maybe we didn't actually want to use in the end. So definitely, I'd say limit the permissions so that not everyone can create custom fields. That's something only administrators can do, by the way. Limit the permissions, plus organize and keep well organized your custom field sets with the fields you actually want to use. And that's really all you need to do. The rest of those fields can sit there and just never be used, never be touched, and just, never have to take the time and energy to clean those up. Because again, you're not going to get the return on that investment. So I hope that helps tonight. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that you have an organized custom field set and that you're letting your 25, 27 pages of custom fields just live on in infamy. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining me.